Hello everyone, my name is Rochelle Innocent and I'm the founder and CEO of Project Purpose. Welcome to our channel. Our community is focused on fostering the intellectual and character development in children. We do this through our parent-child workshops that are focused on 4 themes: autonomy, self-efficacy, compassion, and self-concept, in order to cultivate grit, perseverance, and resilience in each child. And we are so thrilled to be offering one of the first of its kind digital, virtual, and continuous learning environments, enabling parents and children to connect from all around the world. At Project Purpose, our overarching mandate is to renew and rebuild family, community, and relationships. Our different social media platforms provide us with an opportunity to have discussions and to create space for all topics that relate to family, community, and relationships with ourselves as well as with others, with a primary focus on mental health and education. More precisely, the ways that the institutions of mental health and education play a role and have played a role in our societies at large. These discussions and debates provide us with an opportunity to think critically about what needs to change within these structures for us to live up to our bold slogan: support, protect, and empower each child through youth-focused development, better known as leadership in juvenescence. We recognize that in valuing our children's leadership potential, this also translates as recreating and co-creating environments, both socially and politically, that will enable our children to thrive. For those of you who are particularly keen on the topic, we also write thought pieces every other Sunday. We actually just dropped a thought piece this past weekend, so definitely be sure to meander over to the website and check out our online content. Now, if it is the case that you are looking for a listening alternative, well, we're available wherever podcasts are playing, and we've provided you with access to a few links down below. Now, as is the convention, be sure to subscribe, hit that post notification bell so that you are aware of every time you post. And of course, if you like these conversations and you want to keep them going, like, comment, and share this segment. Let's get into it. Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another segment here on Project Purpose. For those of you who are new, we cover topics that relate to mental health, mental wellness, and education on a week-by-week basis. And today's topic of discussion is mental health. And on the conversation around mental health, we're going to be talking about no, the word no. And we want to talk about why no seems to be so affronting. Regardless of where we go in the world, people seem to feel like they have the authority to hear yes when they make a request of us. And sometimes it is really in getting over some of the expectations that people have around the word no that give us the ability to empower ourselves to use it. And so there are some what I would consider to be universals for when no is non-negotiable. And I want to talk about those non-negotiables now. And I think that for a lot of us, our relationship with the word no definitely started at home, whether or not we had the kinds of parents who were comfortable or not comfortable hearing the word no, depending on the reactions that we received when we heard that word no. We have a lot of development to do across the board by way of exercising our ability to decline. And we all have the right and the ability to decline, to say thank you, but no thank you. But for those of us who are really not comfortable with the word no, I would like to just put before you some universals where when you say the word no, it's a non-negotiable, and it's something that you need to just kind of put in your mind so that when you say no, it becomes more of an autopilot response and not something you feel the need to apologize for, to renege on, to feel anxious about. Consider this video and remember, hey, this is a universal no. I don't need to make apologies. I don't need to make excuses. I don't need to provide context. I don't need to give an explanation. This no speaks for itself. And so growing up, I have to say that I was a quietly defiant person. So before I really started to use my voice and say the word no, I would demonstrate my no's in a lot of nonverbal ways. And I think that it is because I got away with some degree of defiance, just because it went under the radar, because I was really discreet and strategic about it. By the time I developed the maturity to use my voice and to say the word no, I was so forceful and so confident in my no that for the most part it was respected. And so for the area where there was some wiggle room, I was way more accommodating than I should have been. It took some growth and development. It took some growth and development beyond my adolescent years when I really started to get a sense as to my own self-worth, my own sense of value, my own sense of purpose, and I really started to build a much more concrete understanding of my boundaries, right? And I think that once I had a more concrete understanding of my boundaries, I knew what I was going to give an explanation and when I wasn't. And I knew when my no was like just non-negotiable and when it wasn't. And so I want to give that feedback to you. And so we're going to talk about the school of the psychology of no's and some of the universal no's. And so my universal no's obviously revolve around our delta, mind, body, spiritual alignment. And this delta is going to split between spiritual and emotional. So I'm going to have a few hot takes for you across those spectrums. So the first no has to do with my physical form, with my body. My no's when it comes to access to my body, what touches my body, what goes into my body, those no's are non-negotiable. When you hear the word no, there's no reneging. There's not going to be a chance or an opportunity for you to push back. And I think that too many people feel, especially when there's like a certain degree of authority, that they can make a request of you that involves your physical form. I had a higher sense of body autonomy before most of my peers growing up, and I was always very, very good at being able to articulate like what I was and was not going to stand for by way of access to my body in the majority of situations at least. And so even now as an adult, when it comes to what goes on, what goes in, what touches my body, what my body is subjected to, whether this is eating, whether this is working out, whether this is in any context, when I say no, it is non-negotiable. I am the final word when it comes to what my body experiences in this life, and I make no apologies about the things that I decline and I say no to when it comes to my physical body. I decide who has access to my body. I decide what goes into my body. I decide when, why, how, what. Go through the entire 5 Whys and 1 H, and I have to tell you, there's no one who shares that authority but me. And so that is a universal no, an area where your no's are universal, but you don't need to provide any excuses, any reasons, any apologies. I mean, if you feel like being polite, go ahead, but feel free to be unapologetic about every no that you feel inclined to utter when it comes to your physical form. Now, the second area in our delta that I want to cover today is my emotions. My emotional footprint means that how I react to certain things is going to be dependent on my state of being at that point in time. And so I make no apologies for when I am not receptive emotionally to something happening in my environment, in the ether. And so when it comes to my emotions, when it comes to access to my emotions, when it comes to even demonstrations and displays of my emotions, whether I choose to engage, disengage, or be neutral, that is something that I'm very much, it's not a democracy about when I'm going to be emotional or be vulnerable or when I'm going to be open and communicative about my emotions. That's my call always. And I think sometimes we feel pressured when we're in environments, there's a certain degree of conflict, but there isn't a level of comfort and trust to be able to communicate how we really feel, but they really, you're really expected to speak. And so for me, my emotions are something that I protect. My emotions are something that I honor and that I respect. And my emotionality, the extent to which I feel inclined to express my emotions, is firmly within my court. And so no one can feel inclined or entitled to my emotional expression. That is a universal no. If I feel like expressing, I absolutely will. If I do not feel like expressing, or if I feel like disengaging, like maybe I started to express, but now I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable, then all of that is my call. All of that is my right. That is not something I'm going to apologize for. My emotional expression is my own to manage, to maintain, and to moderate however I feel inclined to whatever extent is required for me to maintain a certain level of comfort, of safety, and of my own sense of security. And so I think a lot of us feel pressured to be emotional, especially now we have so many conversations about being open, being honest, vulnerable, and I love all of that. I want us all to feel inclined to be open, honest, and vulnerable, but understanding that it is a privilege to have emotional access to someone. It is not something that anyone should have a right to. And so for me, I recognize that emotional access to me is a privilege, especially because I'm not someone who lives in my emotions. I can be very cerebral about my emotions, so I can make the call as to whether or not this is something I'm going to address and I'm going to support independently. Like, I don't need a conversation to have closure, or if this is something I'm going to be open and communicative about. But there is no like democracy around my emotions and my emotional expression. That's a universal no that requires no apologies from me or from you watching this video, wanting to figure out, well, how do I get started on this journey of saying no unapologetically? And definitely on the physical and emotional side, that's my hot take on that. Now mentally, this one is also a very big one, and I am someone someone who has many interests, many hobbies, many areas where I want to put my attention, or even sometimes just be within, right? Go internal and be still and not put my attention anywhere. But what I attend to, when I attend to it, why, who, so on and so forth, that is a no. When I decide that that is not something I want to engage in, that is universal across the board. Like my mental attention, like where my mind goes, what it is attracted to, what it wants to attend to, like that's my call and my call only. And sometimes we feel guilted into watching certain movies that we know are going to disrupt us. And so for me, like there are certain movies I'm just not going to watch. And I'm like very unapologetic about it because I know what fits well, like what is going to disturb me and what is not. Like for me, it is not entertaining to watch something that's going to completely disrupt my system and make me feel afraid and make me feel, you know, just unsure about my environment after watching that movie. And so because of that, like mental, like what I attend to, whether it's entertainment, whether it's cerebral, whether it's art, whatever the case might be, I am very intentional, very mindful about where I put my energy. And that is not something that is a democracy. When I say no about what I want or do not want my attention to go to, it is a no. Like it is not something that I'm going to renege on. It is not something that I'm going to have deliberated with other people. Like, and for the most part, like there's a lot of things I'm fairly neutral about, and if I'm neutral about it, like I'm happy to go with the flow. But if I'm like vehemently against it, then that's an unapologetic no. And at this point, I know myself well enough to know like what things I'm going to enjoy attending to and what things I'm not going to enjoy attending to. I like things that are intellectually challenging and intellectually stimulating. I like things that are going to give a sense of awe, give a sense of wonder. I do not like things that bring about fear, that bring about worry or dread. I'm very selective about what I attend to. And so because I have this working model of what works and what doesn't, and I don't feel inclined to like break it down for everyone who wants to engage with me in a certain thing, then that no is universal and is unapologetic. I don't feel inclined to give context. I don't feel inclined to give excuses. If I say no, I mean no. And so for you, like, of course, like if you feel inclined to give an explanation, like if you want to be polite and do that, like I'm not saying don't be polite, like just say no and kind of slam the door in their face. You can be polite about it, but like feel no qualms, no guilt, no pressure, no anxiety, no worry about that no, because it is your body, your mind, your emotions that you yourself are the only one who has the responsibility of maintaining, supporting, protecting, empowering for the remainder of your life, however long and hopefully very long that might be. So remember, that's a role and responsibility that you should take seriously. Living your best life means making the right decisions for you and being unapologetic when that decision means saying no to someone else. Last but not least is spiritual, and what I believe spiritually, what my beliefs are, how long I believe in those beliefs, to what extent I believe in those beliefs. That's something I'm very unapologetic about, and if I feel inclined to talk about it, I will. If I don't feel inclined to talk about it, I won't. And I think there's a lot of people who like to have debates around beliefs, and I believe that beliefs are complicated enough that debates really are not all that fruitful. I'm happy to have thoughtful deliberations and thoughtful conversations around beliefs, but I'm not happy to go head to head with someone about my belief system and feel targeted or attacked or diminished or demeaned because I believe something differently from someone else. And sometimes other people, if they feel insecure about their beliefs, if they feel unsure about their beliefs, rather than approach where that insecurity stems from in their own beliefs, they attack beliefs that are other, right? So people who have beliefs that are different from theirs, what they'll do is like they'll attack your beliefs when their real issue is with their own belief. And I've experienced this enough, especially growing up in a very orthodox, very black and white religious background. Me breaking out of that box meant I had to fight for the things that I was believing in that were more gray, that were more, you know, fluid. And I recognized that that was just aligned with me, with my spirituality. Personally, like I am not someone who fits in a black and white world, right? I feel like the more that I think things through, the more that I feel that things are less black and white than we want them to be. And I guess black and white thinking makes us feel a little bit more confident about the world around us, but it's a false illusion of confidence. And if it's a false illusion of confidence, then we're not necessarily helping ourselves by maintaining that worldview or that lens. But that's my belief, right? And that's where I'll end it. I don't need to have a spiritual debate here on my channel. That's not really the point. But because of that belief, I don't feel inclined to attack other people's belief or defend my own. And I think that that is just something too many people I feel inclined to be apologetic about, like when they won't rise to the defense of their beliefs. I just don't need to. I don't feel the need to defend my beliefs. My beliefs are my beliefs for as long as they are my beliefs and for as deep as they go, right? And I think that too many of us feel that our beliefs are up for discussion, they're up for debate, and they're not. They're personal. They're personal to you. And if you want to have a conversation about them, by all means, but set some boundaries around it so that you don't feel like you've been attacked and mulled over by the things that you believe in that are the basis for how you navigate in the world around you. Beliefs are very personal. They're very tied to our behaviors, our actions, our attitudes, the assumptions we make, the judgments we make. So I think that it's important to critique and to call into question your beliefs when there are certain things that are telling you to do so, that you feel inclined to do so, but it doesn't need to be something that is up for debate with other people. Like, you can decide to what extent you want to bring your beliefs up for conversation, but the moment that you feel inclined to shut that down unapologetically. In any case, that was the video for today. Some universal no's to get comfortable with. Practice your no muscle. Practice saying no, being comfortable saying no, being unapologetic saying no, giving no context when saying no. All of these are very important life skills as you figure out boundaries, personal space, and recognize when someone is breaching them. And sometimes people don't recognize they're breaching personal space just because of how they grew up. They didn't have their own personal space, and so they can encroach on you if you don't feel comfortable and confident articulating your no and letting them know where the line is and not to cross it. And if they do get angry, if people don't respect your no, then that tells you where those people go in your life, right? Like, no, they're to be respected. And if someone is having a hard time respecting your no, that gives you a sense to that person's motivations and intentions for you in your life. The people who want the best for you, who want nothing but love for you, will respect the no's that you give them and will understand that it's not an attack on them, it's you establishing your own boundaries and you leveraging your voice. In any case, that was it, but definitely not all. Now, before letting it go, I would be remiss if I didn't let you know that we will be going live at least twice a month, every month for the foreseeable future on our website. So definitely be sure to tune in. Now, these events are paid events, so if you do see yourself participating in our community on an ongoing basis, I mean, you can by all means get a ticket each time for each event, or you can take a look at one of our package plans. Yes, so we do offer membership plans that give you access to webinars, workshops, largely focused on self-mastery over and above the live event. So definitely check that out. Be part of our game changer community, being part of the change that you want to see, allowing us a small role to play in your journey. We are on the road to 1K, so we do invite you to follow us across all of our social media platforms, and we look forward to chatting with all of you very soon. We'll talk to you later.
Like no one's listening. Some days I just feel like the world's into me. Some days I'm so paranoid.